At the very end of a long, broken road, there stands a house no one dares to visit. The road itself seems to disappear into silence, as if even the wind refuses to travel further. Trees lean away from the path, their branches twisted like warning fingers, pointing back toward safety. Locals say the road was once busy, filled with carts, laughter, and travelers, but that was before the house was abandoned. No one remembers who built it. No records exist. The walls are cracked, the windows are dark, yet the house never collapses. Rain does not wash it away. Time does not touch it. Villagers say the house does not decay because it is not empty. They whisper that something inside is keeping it alive. After sunset, the road becomes forbidden. People who tried to cross it at night were never seen again. No screams, no signs of struggle, just silence. Their names faded, but their fear remained. Sometimes, their relatives claimed to hear familiar voices, calling from the end of the road, begging them to come closer. On certain nights, a dim yellow light appears behind the dusty windows of the house. There is no power line. No candles visible, yet the light moves from room to room, slow and deliberate, as if someone is walking inside. Those who watched too long said they felt watched back, their hearts pounding as the light suddenly stopped at the window facing them. The air around the house is always cold, even in summer. Footsteps echo from inside when no one enters. Doors creak open on their own, and the sound of breathing can be heard through the walls. Some claim the house learns the sound of your footsteps, memorizing the rhythm of your fear. One stormy night, a lone traveler ignored the warnings. The rain was heavy, the wind violent, and the road offered no shelter except the abandoned house. As he stepped inside, the door shut behind him without a touch. The dust-covered furniture looked recently used. A clock on the wall ticked loudly, though its hands were broken. Photographs lay scattered on the floor, faces of strangers staring straight ahead, their eyes wide with terror. The traveler recognized something horrifying. Some faces were from missing posters in nearby villages. Names scratched into the walls matched those who vanished on the road. The house grew quieter, too quiet. The walls seemed closer. The light flickered and stopped above the staircase. From the darkness, a voice whispered his name, soft, familiar, impossible. His footsteps echoed upward, though he never meant to climb. Outside, the storm stopped suddenly, and the road returned to silence, as if it had claimed another memory. And since that night, one more photograph rests inside the abandoned house at the end of the road. At the very end of a dead road, where the ground splits into cracks and weeds choke the broken asphalt, a forgotten abandoned house stands alone. The road does not curve or fade naturally, it simply stops, as if it was never meant to reach the house at all. No signboard names the place. No map admits it exists. Travelers feel an instinctive heaviness in their chests the moment they realize the road has led them there, like the earth itself is urging them to turn back. The house watches the road in silence. Its walls are stained with age, yet not ruined enough to collapse. The roof sags slightly, but never falls. Windows remain intact, dark and reflective, like unblinking eyes that have been staring for far too long. Dust coats every surface, but strangely, there are no signs of nature reclaiming it. No birds nesting, no vines crawling, no insects buzzing. Life seems to stop several steps before the front gate. The air around the house is wrong. It feels thicker, colder, heavier. pressing against the skin. Sounds from the outside world, wind, distant traffic, even your own breathing, become muffled as you draw closer, as if the house absorbs noise. Footsteps echo too loudly on the road, each step sounding delayed, almost as though something else is walking just a moment behind you. Locals refuse to speak of who lived there. When asked, they glance toward the road and lower their voices, warning that the house remembers people. They say it was not abandoned suddenly, but slowly, person by person. First the laughter disappeared, then the lights, then the people themselves. Yet the house remained awake. At night, the darkness around it deepens unnaturally. The sky above seems dimmer, the stars fewer. Sometimes a faint glow leaks from behind the curtains, drifting from one room to another. Not flickering like a flame, but moving with purpose, pausing, waiting. Anyone watching too long feels their thoughts slow, their fear sharpening into certainty. The light is not random. It is aware. The front door is always closed, but never locked. When touched, the wood feels warmer than it should, as though heat lingers beneath the surface. Opening it releases a smell of damp air, mixed with something older, metallic, stale, and human. Inside, the house breathes. The walls creak softly, not from wind, but like joints shifting after a long wait. Furniture stands exactly where it was left, covered in sheets that sag like bodies beneath cloth. The floorboards moan under even the slightest pressure, producing sounds too rhythmic to be coincidence. Somewhere deep inside, a slow ticking can be heard, steady and patient, though no clock is visible. Mirrors hang crooked on the walls, reflecting not just the room, but lingering shadows that don't move with you. Faces seem to form briefly in the glass, blurred, pale, unfinished, before fading the moment you try to focus. Names are carved into the walls, layered over one another, some fresh, some almost erased, as if written by hands that no longer existed. The house does not trap you immediately. It allows you to wander, to breathe, to believe you are still in control. Doors open into rooms that feel slightly smaller each time you pass through them. Hallways stretch longer than they should. The silence grows heavier, broken occasionally by a whisper that sounds uncomfortably close to your own voice. Outside, the dead road waits, unchanged. But those who enter the house often forget which direction leads back. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, faint footsteps can be heard walking toward the end of the road. Slow, careful, as if learning the path for the first time. As the sun begins to sink and shadows stretch across the fields, the villagers slowly retreat from the road. No one needs to announce it. Doors close on their own, windows are barred, and lamps are lit earlier than necessary. By the time the last light of day fades, the road becomes something else, no longer a path, but a threat. Children are pulled indoors, animals are tied closer to homes, and even the bravest men refuse to stand facing that direction after sunset. The disappearances began quietly. One man failed to return from the market. A woman vanished while taking a shortcut home before dusk. At first, people blamed thieves, wild animals, or accidents, but no bodies were found, no blood, no broken belongings, just absence, clean and complete, as if the road swallowed them whole. Those who were last seen near the road all shared something strange in common. They were distracted, looking back, listening to something no one else could hear. A neighbor once claimed he saw his cousin stop mid-step, head tilted, as if someone had whispered his name from the darkness. Then he walked toward the road without fear, without urgency, and was never seen again. After sunset, the road changes. The dirt darkens unnaturally, absorbing what little moonlight exists. Sounds travel incorrectly, footsteps echo too far, voices return distorted, and sometimes not at all. Lanterns dim faster than usual. Flames shrinking no matter how much oil is added. Dogs refuse to cross the road at night, growling at empty space or pulling free of their chains in panic. Villagers who live closest to the road report hearing movement after dark. Not running. Not walking. Something slower. Something patient. Footsteps that stop when listened for, then resume the moment attention fades. Sometimes voices drift in with the wind, familiar ones, calling gently, urgently, asking for help. Mothers swear they hear their children, crying from the direction of the road, even when their children sleep safely beside them. Search parties once tried to investigate the disappearances. They went together, armed with torches and prayers. But as night deepened, the group thinned. People swore paths shifted, torches went out, panic spread. By morning, only a few returned, silent, pale, refusing to explain what they saw. The rest were never found, and no one dared search again. Now, the road is avoided entirely after sunset. No festivals pass through it. No funerals cross it. Even strangers are warned to take longer routes. Villagers say the road does not hunt openly, it waits. It learns routines. It listens. And when darkness falls, it chooses those who linger too long, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and growing fear. The house looks exactly the same as it did decades ago, as if time approached it, and then quietly turned away. While everything around it aged, trees growing thicker, roads cracking deeper, nearby buildings collapsing, the house remained frozen in a single, unmoving moment. The paint has not peeled further, the walls have not caved in, and the roof has not lost a single tile. It stands preserved, not restored, but held in place by something unseen. Old villagers remember it from their childhood and describe it in the same way every time. The same crooked fence post leaning at the same angle. The same broken window on the upper floor that never falls apart completely. The same stains on the outer walls, shaped like shadows of people who once stood there. Even storms seem to avoid damaging it. Lightning strikes nearby trees, rain floods the fields, but the house remains dry and untouched, as if protected or claimed. Dust settles on everything around the house, but never thickens on the window sills. Footprints sometimes appear in the dirt leading to the front door, yet none ever lead away. Leaves gather at the doorstep, but never rot. When someone dares to touch the walls, they are surprised by the texture, neither cracked nor fragile, but firm, almost warm, like skin exposed to sunlight long ago. Inside, the stillness is unnatural. Objects sit exactly where they were left, undisturbed by decades of abandonment. Curtains hang without fading, furniture does not sag further, and paper does not crumble. A calendar still hangs on the wall, stuck on a date no one remembers, its pages refusing to turn. The air smells old, but not decayed. Preserved, sealed away from passing years. Clocks inside the house are broken, yet time seems confused within its walls. Watches stop working the moment they enter. Sounds repeat themselves, a footstep echoing twice, a door creaking long after it has already moved. Visitors report the strange feeling that hours pass without any sense of change. While outside, night suddenly replaces day. Villagers believe the house feeds on moments rather than years. They say it does not age because it steals time from those who enter. The missing are not gone, only caught, held somewhere between seconds. Frozen just like the house itself. And as long as the house stands unchanged, so too does whatever waits inside it, endlessly patient, untouched by time. When night falls completely and the village sinks into uneasy sleep, strange lights begin to appear inside the house. They are never bright enough to comfort, never dim enough to ignore. A dull yellow glow leaks through the dusty windows, thin as breath, pulsing slowly as if the house itself is waking up. There are no power lines leading to the building, no generator, no candles visible. Yet the light exists, steady and deliberate. The glow does not remain in one place. It drifts from room to room, pausing behind windows as though looking out, then sliding away into deeper darkness. Sometimes it lingers upstairs, hovering just beyond the broken window, casting long shadows that twist unnaturally across the walls. Other nights, it moves low along the ground floor, illuminating shapes that should not be there, figures suggested by shadow alone, never clear enough to identify. Villagers who have watched the house for too long describe the same disturbing detail. The light behaves like intelligence. It slows when observed, freezes when someone blinks, and resumes only when attention drifts. Those who try to follow its movement feel an intense pressure behind their eyes, as if the glow is pressing back, staring through the darkness toward them. On moonless nights, the light becomes more active. It flickers rapidly, mimicking the motion of someone walking with a lantern, yet no silhouette ever crosses the windows. Sometimes the glow splits, appearing in two rooms at once, defying logic. Other times, it vanishes suddenly, plunging the house into complete darkness, only to reappear behind a window closer than before. Animals react violently to the sight. Dogs whine and hide, refusing to look in that direction. Birds scatter from nearby trees the moment the light appears. Even insects avoid the house at night, leaving the glow suspended in an unnatural stillness, untouched by life. Those who claim to have gone closer describe a chilling detail. The light does not illuminate objects, it reveals them. Dust hangs frozen in the air, shadows stretch where no object exists, and reflections appear in glass that do not match the room behind it. Some swear they saw movement within the light itself, like faces forming and dissolving, trapped inside its glow. The most terrifying detail is how the light responds to presence. When someone steps onto the dead road at night, the glow brightens slightly, as if in recognition. It shifts toward the front of the house, gathering near the door, waiting. And when the light finally goes out near dawn, it does not fade. It retreats, sinking back into the walls, leaving the house dark, silent, and ready for the next night. Long after the strange lights begin to move through the house, the whispers start. They are so faint at first that most people mistake them for the wind brushing against broken wood. But the wind has a pattern, and these sounds do not. The whispers rise and fall unevenly, forming fragments of words that feel almost familiar. They drift from inside the house, slipping through cracks in the walls and carrying across the dead road, like a secret meant only for those listening too closely. The voices never speak clearly. They murmur names, half-finished sentences, and soft pleas that sound personal, intentional. Some villagers swear They have heard their own names spoken in the exact tone of a loved one. Others recognize voices of the missing. Parents, siblings, friends, calling gently, urgently, as though trapped somewhere deep within the walls. The whispers grow louder when answered, closer when ignored, and vanish the moment someone turns toward them. Footsteps follow soon after. Slow, deliberate steps echo through empty rooms and hallways, measured and patient. They move across floorboards without causing dust to stir, climbing stairs that should collapse under any weight. The rhythm is wrong. Too steady, too careful, like something practicing how to walk. When someone stands still, holding their breath, the footsteps stop as well, freezing in place, listening. Inside the house, the sound of movement becomes disorienting. Steps echo from behind when no one is there. Then suddenly sound from above, then from directly beside you. Sometimes two sets of footsteps can be heard at once, one heavy, one light, moving in perfect synchronization. Doors creak softly as if opened, yet remain shut. Furniture scrapes against the floor without shifting an inch. Those who have entered the house describe the most disturbing detail. The footsteps often mimic their own. A step taken forward is echoed a moment later, perfectly matched. A pause is followed by another pause. It feels as though the house is learning their movement, copying it, becoming it. The whispers grow clearer then, closer to the ear. Warm with breath that should not exist. Outside, villagers hear the same sounds from the road at night. Footsteps approach from the darkness but never arrive. Whispers float past closed windows, circling homes, testing doors. And sometimes, just before dawn, the sounds retreat back toward the house, many footsteps moving together, until silence returns, heavier than before. Leaving behind the unsettling knowledge that whatever walks the house does not walk alone. The storm arrived without warning. The sky darkened too quickly, clouds folding over one another like bruises spreading across the horizon. Rain fell in sharp, icy sheets, and the wind howled down the dead road with such force that walking became painful. Thunder cracked so close it rattled the ground beneath the traveler's feet. Each strike blinding him for a split second before plunging everything back into darkness. He had heard the warnings in the village. He had seen the way people fell silent when the road was mentioned. But fear of the storm was louder than fear of old stories. With no shelter in sight, and the rain soaking him to the bone, the abandoned house became the only option left. From a distance, it seemed to grow clearer, with every flash of lightning, its windows briefly reflecting white light like open eyes. As he reached the front door, the storm suddenly softened, as if holding its breath. The wind died down just enough for him to hear his own heartbeat. His hand hesitated in the air before touching the door, an unexplainable dread crawling up his spine. The wood was warm beneath his fingers, unnaturally warm for a house exposed to cold rain all night. The door opened with barely a sound. No creak, no resistance. Just a smooth, willing motion, like it had been waiting. The moment he stepped inside, the rain and thunder vanished behind him, cut off too sharply, as though the outside world no longer existed. The door closed on its own, not slammed, not pushed, simply finished closing. Inside, the air was thick and still. Damp clothes should have chilled him further, yet the warmth of the house wrapped around him slowly, uncomfortably gentle. The faint smell of dust and old metal filled his lungs. Shadows clung to the corners of the room. refusing to retreat, even when lightning flashed through the windows. His footsteps sounded louder than they should have, echoing too long, repeating themselves. Furniture shapes loomed beneath covered sheets, sagging as though something lay beneath them. A soft glow flickered somewhere deeper inside the house, briefly illuminating the hallway ahead before sliding out of sight. As the storm continued outside, muted now, distant, he realized something unsettling. The house was not sheltering him from the storm. It was separating him from it. And with every second he stood inside, the feeling grew stronger that he had not entered the house to escape the night, but to be noticed by it. As the traveler moved deeper into the house, he began to notice the personal items scattered throughout the rooms. At first, they seemed ordinary, objects forgotten in haste or left behind by former residents. But the longer he looked, the more unsettling they became. Each item carried a sense of ownership, so strong it felt recent, as though the person who owned it had only just stepped away. On a small wooden table lay a cracked wristwatch, its hands frozen at a time that did not match the ticking he could hear elsewhere in the house. The leather strap was worn smooth, shaped perfectly to a wrist that no longer existed. Nearby, a pair of muddy shoes sat neatly by the door, water still clinging to the soles, as if their owner had entered during a storm much like his own. In the living room, photographs were arranged along a dusty shelf. Faces stared out from the frames, men, women, children, none smiling. Their eyes carried the same distant fear, the same strained stillness. The traveler recognized some of them from faded missing posters he had seen in villages along the road. Different years, different places, all ended here. A child's toy rested beneath a chair, its paint chipped but intact. When touched, it let out a faint sound, though no mechanism should have worked after so many years. In the corner of the room, a folded shawl lay draped over the back of a chair, still holding the faint warmth and scent of its owner, like someone who had stood up moments before. Upstairs, the discovery became more disturbing. Names were scratched into the inside of drawers, carved with shaking hands. Letters, journals, and folded papers were hidden beneath floorboards, filled with half-written sentences and desperate thoughts. Each ended abruptly, mid-word, mid-fear. Dates varied wildly, yet the handwriting grew increasingly similar, as if the house had taught them all to write the same way. In one bedroom, a mirror reflected the traveler, holding an object he did not remember picking up, a ring etched with initials. The initials matched a name carved repeatedly into the wall beside the bed, overlapping itself as if written again and again in panic. When he dropped the ring, it did not hit the floor. It simply disappeared. The realization settled heavily in his chest. The house did not discard what it took. It collected. Each item was a marker, a memory preserved, proof of someone who had entered and never left. And as he searched the room, he began to notice empty spaces, places where something was missing, waiting to be added, waiting for him. The longer someone remains inside the house, the clearer it becomes that the building is not empty. It reacts. Not suddenly, not violently, but with slow, deliberate awareness, like something ancient stirring from a long sleep. The walls seem to listen. The air shifts when you move, tightening slightly, as if the house is adjusting itself around your presence. Doors respond first. A door left open closes softly when your back is turned. Another opens just enough to reveal darkness, then stops, waiting. Floorboards creak only beneath your steps, never ahead of you, never behind, until you stop walking. Then, a single board groans somewhere nearby, answering your stillness. The light inside the house behaves strangely. Shadows stretch toward you, growing longer the closer you approach certain rooms. The faint glow that moves through the house slows when you follow it, retreating just out of reach, guiding without leading. Mirrors catch reflections that don't belong to you. Figures standing where you were moments ago, watching from behind your own eyes. The house learns. Hallways subtly change length, rooms feel narrower, ceilings lower. Windows no longer show the same view twice. If you glance away and look back, the outside world appears farther than before, distorted, unreachable. The house is not trapping you by force. It is gently convincing you that leaving was never an option. Sounds react to attention. Whispers quiet when acknowledged and grow louder when ignored. Footsteps match your pace, copying the rhythm of your movement. When fear rises, the house responds with warmth, almost comfort, as if rewarding surrender. When resistance hardens, the walls tighten. The silence presses closer. Most unsettling is the feeling of being studied. Not watched from a single place, but from everywhere at once. From the corners of rooms. From beneath the floor. From inside the walls themselves. The house does not blink. It waits, patient and observant, memorizing every breath, every hesitation. And with that awareness comes intent. The house does not rush. It allows time for understanding, for fear to deepen, for realization to fully settle. Because it knows that once you understand the house is alive, and that it is watching, you have already given it what it wants: your attention, your presence, and eventually, yourself. And when morning finally comes, the house stands exactly as it always has, silent, patient, unchanged. The dead road remains empty, stretching away as if nothing ever happened. But inside, somewhere beyond the walls and behind the watching windows, something has settled. A new space has been filled. A new memory has been learned. And if you listen carefully, just before the next storm arrives, you might hear the house breathing, waiting for the sound of footsteps that will someday reach the end of the road again.